Eagles National Football Show. I mean, how many people are do-gooders out there? Makes me sick to my stomach when I hear that bullshit. Well, I'm not taking Jalen Carter because, he's involved. Well, work the problem. Don't just go by the whims of social media, because most of the time, it's the outhouse wall of social media is Twitter. It's like when you go into a truck stop and you see Bob's a dick written on a toilet wall. That's what Twitter is. It's a toilet wall. I'm going to do my homework because you know why? I'm not listening to jackasses that never get their draft boards right. You know what the question you have to ask for guys like McShay and guys like Mel Kiper and even guys like Mike Mayock? How many times do they actually hit on them? Like never. All they do is create content for these networks, and they're never right. They're never right. Because you know why you're never right? Unless you have the number one overall pick, you don't know what teams are picking at 7, 8, 9, 10. You have no idea what the board's going to look like. You get a situation like this with Jalen Carter with a guy potentially falling. How in the world could you put a mock draft together with any common sense now? Because of this factor here. But yet you get guys going, this guy's a character guy and he's got problems. And you're like, bro, you've never in the history of being on ESPN ever have hit on more than 20% of your picks in the first 32. Ever. I looked it up. He's never right. So I'm going to take a guy who's never right. It's word that Jalen Carter's a bad character guy. I'm going to ask Tracy Carter. I'm going to ask Tracy Rocker. Tracy, what's the kid like? Now, look, if the Eagles pass on him at 10, it was because Tracy said something. Hey, maybe there is something there. If Tracy Rocker passes on him, then I'm going to know there is some truth to it. But if Tracy takes him, I'm going to have no problem. I know Tracy Rocker. I played ball with Tracy Rocker. See, this is something that you guys don't get anywhere else. I know Frank Wright, who's hired all these assistants, that Nick is from Frank's world, not Frank from Nick's world. Everybody that Nick hires, I know. I played with your D-line guy. I know your new D coordinator. I know Jeff Stoutland. They're all Hurricanes. I know these guys. I can talk to them. What's this guy like? Send Tracy a text. You want to hear something? I'll divulge something. Jalen Carter, bad kid? Bullshit. Bullshit. Good enough for me. Mel Kiper and Todd McShay. Man, you really don't have to be a really good analyst any longer. You just got to be a great bullshit artist. No wonder I can't get far. Because I can't lie like that. I can't make shit up like that. I never will. I can't lie and connive like that. I just can't. I could never ruin a kid's life by making something up by going, the kid's got bad character. No, the kid made a bad mistake. There's a difference. There's a difference between making a mistake and being a bad dude, isn't there? I think there is. But some people like to tie them all together. People make mistakes. But man, I'll tell you what, man. The shit I did at 21 and the shit Jerome Brown did at 21, I'm wearing that hat for a reason. Because I know this, and I'm going to say this to you guys. How many people here revere Jerome Brown? How many people here revere him? Revere Jerome. How many people do? Jerome would be battling for the kid. I know that for a fact. Jerome would want the kid on the Eagles. Todd McShay. But see, this is what happens, especially in a market like Philly now, because you know what's really happened? No disrespect to some of you guys, but the media people now are snowflakes, especially the writers. They'll put it out there that Eagles take a gamble on a bad dude or a guy, and they'll label them without knowing them, which is standard today. And what they'll do is they'll make the Eagles feel that they have to put out a PR statement on why they took the kid. Instead of just saying this, we took him because we did our homework. I don't have to tell you, explain to you why. That's what I would tell you. I don't owe you an explanation why I took the kid. I don't owe you anything. Well, what do you think the fans will say? The fans know our organization and the kind of people we are and the kind of people we hire and the kind of things we do here. If after 20 some odd years that Jeffrey Lurie has owned that Eagle team, they don't know what kind of people and what kind of personnel people and what kind of people are in that front office by now, hiring a guy like Jalen Carter or drafting a guy like Jalen Carter, it's not going to change that notion of who they are and what they are because a media guy wrote some shitty column. Okay? Bad situation. If this guy was driving the car that killed that guy, that's a different world for me too. Look, this is still not cool. I say he falls to 10. By the way, if he falls to 9, I might jump up there and get him. He's the best player in the draft. You're going to pass on him because of what? Misdemeanors. So someone was killed, unfortunately. Unfortunately. But if the league clears him, I'm not going to sit there and put a moral tag on it. I want to win some games. Take his ass. If he falls there, he's mine. That's what I would say. Can you imagine this? Howie's sitting at 10 now with the potential of Jalen Carter and all of those cornerbacks that potentially could be there. Holy shit. What if this comes down? What if this comes down? Jalen Carter falls to 10. Somebody calls Howie up and says this, hey, I'll give you another 1 and I'll give you a 2 to slide into 10. Carter's yours. I get my corner. You're freaking in the catbird seat with this thing falling to you. This is the best news on the planet for the Eagle organization. If that guy falls to 10, what's to say the Vikings don't call and go, hey, what will it take for us to move into 10? And you slide down to 14 and get the kid, the safety from Bama or one of the corners, because the slide of Carter is going to affect every other position player outside of quarterback. This is look, I'm separating his situation, which is horrible, but this is a great situation for the Eagles. Howie Roseman must have went, best news we got all day is Carter's going to fall. Someone's going to jump there and go like this, and they're going to go, I'll tell you what, at 10, plus you get him cheaper. Howie gets another pick, maybe a first or – dude, I'm not giving Jalen Carter up for anything less than a 1. Another 1. No dice. I'm either taking a kid or you're giving me a 1. That kid's worth the 1, man. He's the 1. He could have been the first pick. I'm not giving up the first pick at 10 for a second rounder. What are you, nuts? Carson goes, he won't slip to 10. Well, you don't know draft history then very well. Charles goes, dude, at 10, you're kidding. Of course you take him. Well, we'll see what some of the media people in Philly say. So look, you're sitting here at 10. So wait a minute now. Wait a minute. Let me add Jalen Carter's name to this list. Jesus, I had 10. Jalen Carter. Jesus criminy. Georgia. DT. So here are the potential players that he can draft and that I think will be available to Howie Roseman at 10 and 30. Depending on what he does, I think these are guys you could target. I'm going to go Jalen Carter. What? Man. Watch this. Here's the evaluation on him. Potentially could be the first pick in the draft. He is a Warren Sapp, John Randall, Aaron Donald type productive player. Phenomenal feet, quick, fast, strong. His engagement is spectacular. He gets off the block, could play in a 3, a 2, a 1, could put him on a nose, could put him in a 43, 34, put him in a bear front. There's nothing this kid can't play, and he's the most productive lineman that they have had during this recent national championship run. Now, is that good enough? And you might get him at 10? Okay. Here's the other guys. So here's the group of dudes. Devon Witherspoon, Illinois. I say he's the guy still. Cornerback. Joey Porter, Penn State, cornerback. These are guys going to be available to you. Now, and by the way, the sliding of Carter makes this even more probable. Premier goes, we're not staying at 10 or 30. That's why I've got a list of guys that I think you may be targeting. There could be some of that. Jalen Ramsey, you can have him. $15 million, no interest. I'll take these kids over that bullshit. No interest in Jalen Ramsey. 0. Christian Gonzalez, Oregon. I got 3 corners right at the top. All the top 3 guys. Witherspoon, Porter, Gonzalez. Illinois, Penn State, Oregon. All great programs. Feel very comfortable. The kid Gonzalez was a transfer from Colorado. I don't think he's as physical as Witherspoon. I think he's a better cover guy. And to me, Witherspoon kind of fits what Sean Desai is going to need at that role that Ed Reed will play in that hybrid 43. Okay? Then I got Tyree Wilson, Texas Tech, edge rusher. Then I got Brian Branch, safety, Bama. Slide back to 14, grab him. 14th pick. He's the 14th graded player at the combines this week. You're not overdraft. See, look, you got to remember something. As long as you're not overdrafting here, and none of these guys, by the way, not one player, including Jalen Carter, if you drafted him, you'd be overdrafting. Every one of these guys would be a value pick. Witherspoon's the 6th guy on the board. And you get him a 10, that's a quality pick. Porter is more of a 14, so if you got to kind of slide down a little bit, but if you got him, Christian Gonzalez is like the 7th or 8th also. Get him a 10, that's a quality pick. Tyree Wilson is like the 5th pick. Get him a 10 because Carter fell? Good night. Man. Remember, corner and edge rusher. There's going to be a premium in this draft on those positions. Okay? Premium. And the kid Branch is like an Ed Reed safety. Hitter, strong, played on winning football, coached by Saban, Southeastern Conference, played against some of the top flight kids in the country. Dude, you're not going wrong with SEC guys. You're not going to fail. And like I said about Jordan Davis is not the 13th pick. They overdrafted. Remember I told you, do you guys remember this when I said this to you about Jordan Davis? Jordan Davis, in my opinion, his ceiling is Vince Wilfork. I think Vince has a shot to go to Hall of Fame. Won 3 Super Bowls. Was a force on that Patriots defensive line. Made All-Pro a bunch of times. You know, he wasn't the 13th pick. That's the problem here. He's not. He's not going to be a productive pass rusher. Okay? He's not. That's not who he was. He was more in the 20s. 15 to 22, somewhere in there is where Jordan Davis should have went because of the lack of production at Georgia. Remember? I told you, my issue with him was he never lived up to his athleticism. He showed up at the combines and blew the doors off people, but yet that production never equaled it. It just never has. It didn't his rookie year. It never has. In 5 years I've been watching him play, his production does not equal his ability. The Eagles drafted him at 13, hoping he would live up to that ability. It's not happened yet. And it may never. However, is he a first rounder? Yes. Could he be somebody like Vince? Yes. But to think he's going to be Fletcher Cox, that's not going to happen yet. I don't see it. Fletcher had 6 sacks at 32 years of age this year. Jordan Davis gets 6 sacks, I'll be shocked. Okay, I'll be shocked. He had 9 sacks in 43 games at Georgia. And people think he's going to show up to Philly and have 11 sacks. That ain't happening. He's never produced that. Bijan Robinson. I think the Eagles should look at this kid. This kid's a Le'Veon Bell. How would Le'Veon Bell be in that Jalen Hurts offense? You put Le'Veon Bell with Hurts, Goddard, A.J. Brown, and Devonta Smith. How do you think that offense looks? Greg, he had 7 sacks? So get this. A 32-year-old Fletcher Cox had more sacks this year than Jordan Davis almost had in his entire 5-year career at Georgia in the NFL. And I'm supposed to think he's going to be an 11-sack guy? Not happening. Not happening. Steven goes, have the Eagles whiffed on their first draft picks? I'm not saying he whiffed. They overdrafted him. They put more expectations on Davis. They thought Davis was going to come in here and be the kid Walker or Wyatt, and those guys were better skilled pass rushers. This kid Carter is the best D lineman that they've had at Georgia in the last 2 years of their national championship run. It's been a fact. Yeah, this kid, Bijan Robinson, has a lot of traits to him, in my opinion, like Le'Veon Bell. Catch the ball, 1,500 yards in the middle. One of the better, actually, Big Ten running backs that have come out of that conference when he was at Michigan State, I believe. 4-1 to 3-3. Thank you very much. Really cool. Sills love the show. Refreshing to have someone who's not a Philly homer, just calling balls and strikes. Jacob might shut down WIP over time. Keep it up. WIP's in the pocket of the Eagles. They have to be. No shade. They have to be. It's their business partner. I know that. It's no shade on the guys who are on the air there. They can't say the people at WIP can't tell the truth about the Eagles. That's the problem. That's the problem with radio today, though. You can't tell the truth any longer on it because your bosses and your PDs and all these other guys who think they know better get in the way. There's more speed bumps involved in radio today than ever before. That's why IP is not what it once was. Even though you guys make it that way because you're phenomenal. And Philadelphia sports fans are the best. Miles Murphy would be somebody to look at too. Clemson, edge rusher. You know, he's kind of falling in the draft a little bit. I'd like to know why. I'd like to know why. He's kind of coming back a little bit. It's got to be a little bit something there. Maybe production, maybe his last 2 years on film, because 3 years ago he was really good. And I think that, he's kind of like not out of the top 10. He's a great player. Okay? But he's kind of sliding a little bit from being in that top 5 now to right around where the Eagles pick. Emmanuel Forbes, another corner, Mississippi State. You notice one? What are the things that you're seeing when it comes to the skill positions that I'm identifying for the Eagles here? What am I doing here? Watch. Devon Witherspoon, Illinois. What's the key essential thing there? Why do you think I think Witherspoon's the best corner in the draft between Porter, Gonzalez, and Forbes? Why do you guys think that I think he's the best of those three? Why do you think I look at Witherspoon and go, he's the better corner that's in the draft? You guys have an idea why? Physical. Witherspoon plays in the Big Ten. Physical play, all schemes. That's a true statement, Bob. You're not wrong. Vlad, you don't want the recent players. Vlad, why would you say that? Vlad, why would you say that? You don't want the recent Illinois guys. Why would you say that? People saying Eagles shouldn't draft Jalen Carter when Jerome Brown literally killed. That Philly guy, I'm not going to address that. I knew that young boy, Augusta. He was decapitated. Okay? He was decapitated. It was Jerome's sister's son. She learned of it driving home from Florida State, that her son was killed and her brother. Jerome killed him. Wow. Huh. People will say the meanest things. What a cool little kid he was. Used to show up to Philly. Reggie loved him. We all did. Randall used to throw footballs to him. Well, that's right, Yale. Jerome got this brand new Z28, I think it was. It was a Corvette. And it was a wet day. And he pulled out of the dealership and he gunned it because he was trying to get across the other road. He slid down the embankment. The car flipped upside down. And Augusta was killed immediately. And Jerome, from what I'm told from the Brooksville fire people, was trying to push the car off him. He was trying to push the car off him. He couldn't do it. Fell back down and crushed his chest. It killed him. There. You think Jerome meant to do that? Was he reckless? Yeah. We all were reckless then. We were all reckless. Did he and I race out front of UM? Yes. Did he and I do crazy shit? Were we crazy? Jimmy Johnson came on here and said, you were a handful. Well, the guy next to me was just as much of a handful. But he said he loved coaching me. Well, that goes for the other guy next to me. Jerome and I were a handful, man. We were dominant dudes. Handfuls. Remember, you don't win championships with choir boys. Well, that's what we were not. We were not choir boys. Every time I go to Philly and I see that 99 up there, you know, it brings a smile to my face. It does. Really cool that he played there. Back to Witherspoon. Why do you think I love him so much? Why do you think I do? Because Lovey recruited and signed him. He's a Lovey Smith guy. Lovey Smith was the DC with Monty Kiffin that built that Tampa 2 defense with Mike Tomlin. Those guys identified Rondé Barber, John Lynch, dudes like that. Dude, Lovey identified him, and he's that dude. I'm in. How could you pass on a guy? Witherspoon, Carter. I got a problem with Bryce Young at 5'10 and a half. I do. Okay. Thank you, Steven. He fits our scheme. This new defensive scheme, yeah, I do think that. Oh, vet. Those guys are dumb. But I've heard people saying it, though, that you see what's happening now, that if Carter falls down to 10, you're going to rehash to Jerome Brown. Hey, and by the way, I can't lie, man. Jerome was a reckless dude, man. I mean, he used to be in that vet parking lot. What were those motorcycles called? Ninjas? Jerome bought this Ninja in Brooksville, and he shipped it up to Philly. And he used to, in his lunchtime, go in that parking lot. Because you remember, the parking lot's still big. But you remember that vet parking lot? Jerome would go 130 miles an hour on that thing. And Jeff Fisher, you know, them guys used to hold their breath. Because he'd be going up and down that parking lot. I showed up there one time, man. I don't know. I worked out. You guys had, by the way, the vet had the worst workout facility in the history of pro football. I could not believe how. So Jerome worked out with me down at One Buck Place. Not that One Buck Place was any better. The new place is sensational. The old place was like a trailer park. I mean, our facility at Miami was better. And so he came down, worked out with me, and then he goes, Sills, come on up. And what was who was the kid that who was the guy that just died, worked out with us? Oh, who was the guy that was the other DT that played next to Jerome? Keith? What's the guy's name? He just passed away a year ago. What's the guy's name? A Ducati. That's what it was, Max. He had a Ducati. What was that guy's name, man? It just passed away. He was a defensive tackle that played on that line next to Jerome. Oh. Mike Pitts. No, Ken Clark. You guys remember Ken Clark? We worked out with Ken Clark and Mike Pitts. Do you guys remember those two dudes? This is the Pro Bowl ballot. I love showing this. Jimmy's two tackles on there, Jerome and Sills, on the Pro Bowl ballot, our rookie years. We made the Pro Bowl ballot. And you know what's funny? I got Pro Bowl votes because Kevin Fagan voted for me, and I voted for Jerome. Stubbs voted for me. I voted for him too. So that's how we got votes. You guys, you guys. I worked out with Ken Clark and with Mike Pitts. Those two dudes were great guys, man. Great dudes. Mike Golick, I didn't know Mike then. I know him more now. Yeah, man, those two guys. Yeah, those two guys were great, man. My dad would park in the vet parking lot, go to the Eagle games that went across the street and watch the Broad Street Bullies. That's a fun time, dog. Dan, you have to check out film on the running back, Gibbs. I've seen him. 5'11", he's a little smaller. People are saying he's a really good talent. Somebody the Eagles might want to take a look at that 92nd pick. If he's around then, I've seen a little bit of him. I looked at it. The running back position is just so undervalued nowadays. Okay. Why would the Eagles ask the league to allow players to wear number 0? That's the number Gonzalez wears. 0. Watch this. If he wants 00, I'll give it to him. I don't care. What? Why? Hey, Chris, if it makes a guy, hey, Chris, if you wanted to give a guy placebo pills and he thought it made him a superstar, would you give it to him? I would. If this guy wants to wear number 100 and he feels that makes him a better player, who cares? Who cares? Right? I mean, I never got that. Well, I'm not doing that. I'm not changing the rule. If it doesn't matter, I don't care. Guy wants to wear number 101 or 01. I don't care. I don't care. Well, Gonzalez wants to wear 0. Great. Sure. Change the rule. Hey, if they're going to change the rule on the Eagles scrum, change the rule on the 0 number. That's what I would do if I was Philly and I drafted this kid, Christian Gonzalez. I would go like this. Hey, look, you're going to change the rule on the scrum. Once you change the rule on the number, my kid Gonzalez wants to wear 0, and we'll call it a day. Right? I don't know how people, man, more little shit bugs people more so than the big shit in life. Who cares? Right? Who cares? You think the Eagles would take a look if they were in the position, maybe they traded down to look at Paris Johnson, the Ohio State offensive line? You know why? He sits there. He's the best product next to the kid from Northwestern. I think the kid from Northwestern is going to go in the top 5. If that kid Johnson's down there, is he the heir apparent to Lane, and is he your depth? Could you see them drafting this kid from Ohio State? Dude, they've been really great in the O-line. And I don't think – the fail-safe for the Eagles, and this is what I would tell you guys. Watch this. This is what I would tell you. The Eagles drafted an O-lineman in the first round. What do you care? They've been producing Hall of Famers. They got it right. They're going to get it right. Stoutland will get it right. I mean, look what you did with shitty Andre Dillard. That guy's a bust, and he's going to get paid. You know who he's like? That kid Andre Dillard reminds me of the kid Flowers from Miami. I never thought the kid Flowers from Miami was good. The guy that the Giants signed and drafted. I never thought he was good. Go Birds goes Pac-12 is soft. That's my only concern, but kids who go to Oregon, go Birds. But the people who go to Oregon traditionally pan out are pretty good. Tight end from Notre Dame's got a high grade, but he's more down in the 25 area. So that could be a 30. But do you want to go tight end when you got – I mean, look, I get a second tight end in the 3rd or 4th round. They don't have a 4th round. They will, though. I think they're going to have as many as 9 picks. I think they're going to have as many as 9 picks with the compensation picks. Lucas Van Ness, Iowa edge. You know why I'm okay with him? Because the kid from Purdue looks like he panned out to be somebody. That kid from Purdue had a pretty productive year in Kansas City. He was pretty decent. Okay, he was pretty decent. Okay. I got another guy talking about Jalen Carter. Guy's not a headache. He effed up. Come on, man. I think they're done drafting O-line in early rounds. We got Mulata in the 7th. Stoutland is just so damn good. We don't need to go there or that high on the O-line. Lane was a first rounder, wasn't he? Out of Oklahoma? I thought Lane was a first rounder. No compensation picks? That's not how that works. Yeah, Lane was a first round pick out of and he's going to the Pro Football Hall of Fame. And I know that Kelsey was taken later. Okay, I know he was taken later. But Mulata was a project. You know who Mulata reminds me of, what they did? Mulata is a project like Larry Allen was. See, before Jimmy left, they identified this guy, Larry Allen, at Humboldt State in California. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, Larry Allen was a 12th rounder. And after Jimmy left, the scouting department, Bob Ackles, still pursued him. Powerful, strong, fast. But there was an intangible, and everyone kept saying, why is he at Humboldt State? He didn't want to go to school. Happens. He had no grades. He didn't give a shit. He got into some trouble. So again, Larry Allen's the best offensive lineman I've seen in the last 45 years. There's nobody better than him. 750-pound bencher, ran 4.8s, lateral movement, was the biggest man I've ever seen. And I saw him do something to your Eagle team that I've never seen anybody do in the history of football. There was an interception that Aikman threw, and he ran down either a Philadelphia Eagle or a Giant guy. He ran down from behind, ran the entire length of the field and caught him. I remember looking at my wife going, I can't believe what I just saw, an offensive lineman run down that field like that and make that tackle. Larry Allen's the best athlete I've ever seen. He was like the Shaq version of offensive lineman. He was like Shaquille O'Neal. Dave Campos sent me when he benched 700 pounds. I'm a 535. In the pros, I was 605. And nobody, 600 pounds is a great bench. I had ungodly strength. This guy was 700 pounds. This guy was 95 pounds stronger than me in a bench. And I had never been in a room where anyone's stronger than me. Ever. Well, that's not true. In college, Kevin Fagan did 550, and I did 535. I was 19 years old. Yeah. Kevin was a beast, but I did 700 squat when I was there. That's why The Rock, man, he posted that on my Twitter page. No one will ever break Sileo's records. They're still standing. My 535 will never be broken, and my 59 reps at 225 will never be broken. Okay? Hey, Chris, 750-pound bench, and Reggie tossed him. Dude, don't talk to me about Reggie White. Okay? Reggie tossed everything, including the Philadelphia sanitation department. There's nothing he couldn't throw. He must have been a hell of a shot putter. Dude, I saw Reggie White throw Chris Carter into Warren Moon, and it was counted as a sack. He picked Chris Carter up in Minnesota, threw him into Warren Moon, and Warren Moon got sacked because Reggie threw wide receiver. Because for whatever reason, Chris Carter was trying to block Reggie White. I'm like, hey, Dennis, you might want that one back. You might want that one back. And then you effed it up. And you could have been a Hall of Famer. Boy, did I ever. Man. It's my fault, though. Steven, it's my fault. I screwed it up. I know. I did. That's why you got to go to good organizations, too, to help guys. That's why I'm sympathetic. That's why I'm not calling Jordan Davis a bust. I'm not doing that yet. You get Jalen Carter next to him, might motivate him. Okay? Might motivate him. Okay? But a lot of this is in your hands. Okay? My squad is 185. My squad is 135 now. I had a problem picking my wife's carpet up in the rain today. Can't have regrets. I don't know about that. I don't know about that. How'd you F it up? I quit. I quit. You know how Lane had depression? I quit. Happens. I had a better year than Jordan did. And me and the D-line coach got into a fist fight. Mike DuBose. And I really liked Ray a lot. Me and him settled the axe before he passed away. But I just went, it was my fault. It was my fault. No one else's. The Bucs were terrible. I hated being there. Then I got meningitis when I got to the Cowboys because I started every single preseason game in Dallas for Jimmy his first year. All four. Then I got sick, almost died. 75% of the people that get meningococcal meningitis die from it. My wife's in the hospital with me. I had to take 3 years off of football because I almost passed away. It's a true story. It just wasn't meant to be. It just wasn't meant to be. Circumstances, and by the way, you don't get any redos when those things don't go right for you. Stout has proven in the NFL, we got lane after lane later rounds, 3 and down. We don't have to draft O-linemen. Carter falls to us, man. I'm grabbing this dude. Cannolis sounds good right now. It does, actually. Hey, Steven, thank you, man. It was a fun time, playing next to Jerome and dominating all those college players. We killed all them Oklahoma teams. Steven, all those guys that went on to the NFL, we killed them all. I did too. Oh, cannoli time? Hey, I actually like that, cannoli time. Howie Roseman needs to call a press conference. That Philly guy, thank you. Sills never had a cannoli. Describe what I'm missing. Sills, Tone, you've never had a cannoli? Wait, Tone, let me get this right. Are you from Bessemer, Alabama? You're not from Philadelphia, are you? Tone, you're not from Philly. You can't be. Okay, so Tone's from North Philly. And he's never had a cannoli. I got to get this. That Philly guy, I'd rather have Darnell Wright from Tennessee. He shut down Will Anderson. Best left tackle in the draft. He's pretty good. Hey, Mitchell, thank you so much. What's a cannoli? Now, see, he's a Niner guy. He drinks wine and cheese and sits in the stands down in Santa Clara. So he wouldn't know what a cannoli is too. It's an Italian sweet. Oh, and to me, okay, do you like it with chocolate chip, no chocolate chip, cheese? Oh my God, a cannoli. Somebody tell me what your perfect cannoli is so we could tell Tone. Oh my God, man. Hey, and by the way, here's the one thing too, Tone. You can't save cannolis. So if you get a box of them, you got to eat them all. Okay. The next day cannolis are no good. They're no good. I've never had a cannoli where you can eat it the next day because it's mushy on the bottom because the shell gets wet. Put the chocolate chip in it. I've even seen people put pistachios in them. Okay. Wine and cheese cannolis out west. Go to, what is that? Termines in Philadelphia. Plain with powder. Whew, God. Gold Bella directly from Termaines. Okay, Neil. Okay, this is the second time I've seen that name. Holy cow, this is the GQ, Neil. Okay. If they order it, I'm getting it. Watch this. Here's Sileo's favorite meal. My aunt's watching this. Ready? Scungil. Pasta. A lobster. Then you finish that baby off with a cannoli. Or pizza frite. I don't think you white guys know what pizza frite is. My grandpa had it with a cannoli, with an anchovy in there too. So I don't know if you guys know what pizza frite is. I'm getting a cannoli. Got to get a cannoli, bro. They're the best. Okay. Gabagool is pretty good too. Yeah. You get some gabagool. Calzones. My wife likes calzones. A little bit too much cheese for me. Yeah. Holy cow. He got me on food here. We're going to reset this bad puppy at the top here. By the way, I've got a topic on Jalen Hurts that I want to get to. Tone, I'll tell you what we're going to do. We'll just sweep the hour. I'm going to take a timeout here. We won't take another one at the top. So we'll just sweep through it. We'll take one here. I'm going to ask you a question about Jalen Hurts. As we get into hour number 3, keep it right here.